A pleasant morning to everyone. I will just ask us all to stand for the rendition of one stanza of our national anthem. We thy sons and daughters stand, strong and firm in peace or danger, to safeguard our native land. We commit ourselves to building a true nation, brave and free, ever striving, ever seeking, dwell in love and unity. Thank you very much. You may be seated, please. Okay, my name is Solange Baptiste, Manager Information Services at the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, and I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for today's proceedings. Once again, I'd like to apologize for our late start. It seems like we had a little visit from Murphy. We're glad if he doesn't hang around too much. But thankfully, I'm really grateful that we're all here and we're ready to go. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the Chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Standards Council, Mr. Cottrell George, to bring the welcome and opening remarks. Mr. George.
Honorable E.P. Chet Green, Minister in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and the Trade, Mr. Derek Omar, Chief Executive Officer, CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, COSQ, Mrs. Laura Piper, Permanent Secretary for Trade in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, Mrs. Diane Lala Rodriguez, Director, Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, Mr. Martin Cave, Executive Director, Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce, members of the National Quality Awards Committee, Mrs. Ruthlyn Matthias, Executive Director, Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Training Institute, staff of the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards and Standards Council, and representatives of the media, guests and friends, good morning. I almost feel as if I have to apologize to say that when I shall have come to the end of my brief presentation, or my brief welcome rather, I will have to make my exodus because there's a lady who is 94 years old who happens to be my mother, and due to certain circumstances I have to leave to go and make sure she's all right, if that's all right with you. I wish to express my delight to be able to welcome all of you to this launch of the National Quality Awards Program here at beautiful Dutchman's Bay. Under the existing Standards Act of Antigua and Barbuda, one of the key functions of the Bureau is to institute a national quality infrastructure and to assess quality systems by administering the certification of such systems. There can be little doubt, in fact, there can be no doubt that quality forms the basis of organizational success, both in the public and the private sectors. There is a common view that performance in the public sector generally lags behind that in the private sector. But there is a strong counter view that in some instances, government employees are just as good as private sector workers and can produce the same high quality output. It is encouraging to see public sector representatives here today, which is an indication of the sector's commitment to deliver high quality service to its many and diverse customers. It is important to note that this is a national quality awards program and therefore requires the full commitment and participation of every individual, every organization, and every sector. Why? Because quality awards is not only about rewarding and recognizing a specific organization, but more so recognizing the importance of quality across all businesses. These awards will help to raise awareness among customers about quality and also raise the level of customer expectations. From a business perspective, they will help to enhance the competitiveness of Antigua and Barbuda and of our products and services locally and abroad. It is my sincere hope that your participation in this launch ceremony today will awaken your strongest commitment to quality in Antigua and Barbuda. Welcome all.
Thank you so much, Mr. George, especially for your very strong encouragements for our public sector agencies and that call to all really to be fully participating in this venture. At this time, I would like to call on Mr. Derek Omar, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. Mr. Omar heads a secretariat that is behind much of this 11th EDF project and also sees to it that the project is producing exactly what it is set out from the mandate that CrossQ has for the region so far as standards, quality, and the promotion of trade goes. So thank you, Mr. Omar, for your presence, and please proceed with your presentation about CrossQ and the 11th EDF.
Thank you very much, Master Ceremonies. Honorable Mr. Chet Green, Minister, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade. Mrs. Laura Piper, Permanent Secretary for Trade, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade. Mr. Cottrell George, Chairman, Antigua and Barbuda Standards Council. It's great to see you again, sir. Dr. Jerry Simon, Vice Chairman, Antigua Standards Council. Mrs. Diana Lala Rodriguez, Director, Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards. Mr. Martin Cave, Executive Director, Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce. Members of the National Quality Awards Committee. Mrs. Ruthlyn Mathias, Executive Director, Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Training Institute. Staff of the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, representatives of the media, and other specially invited guests. Thanks for taking the time and effort to be with us here today on this most auspicious occasion. The CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, better known as CrossQ, is the network of the 15 bureaus of standards with our CARICOM region. This network sees to the joint collaboration, facilitation of projects and programs, as well as technical assistance and consensus building in the area of quality infrastructure development across our region. Quality infrastructure, as you would all know by now, refers to the development of standards, measurement infrastructure, the development of accreditation and conformity assessment processes, procedures, and systems, and the quality promotion of all these areas. Today, CrossQ is extremely happy to see and participate in this launch of the Antigua and Barbuda National Quality Awards, led nationally by the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards. We were fortunate enough at the CrossQ Secretariat to have been able to play a role in the start of the development of these concepts of these awards towards the end of the 10th European Development Fund a couple of years ago. So it brings us special pride to see the early work being continued here under this 11th European Development Fund CARIFORUM TB Technical Barriers to Trade program, which began at the end of 2020. Along with the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, CrossQ and the 11th EDF programs have likewise assisted two member states, Guyana in 2017 and Suriname earlier this year, through to the hosting of their inaugural National Quality Awards. The current program is now assisting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards to do the same. And thus, like the learnings from how Suriname and Guyana is assisting Antigua, we expect that Antigua will soon be assisting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Trinidad and Tobago. The National Quality Awards are an opportunity for businesses in a country to be recognized for the implementation of quality systems and procedures in their operations, whether they be service or manufacturing oriented. It allows businesses to recognize the value of quality and even more to see the benefits that can accrue, ranging from business efficiency to access to export markets and therefore potential increases in revenue. It is our experience that many businesses don't often consider what quality systems can do for their businesses until they try to export and realize that the protocols that exist to be able to do so are not there. The one thing we can promise, however, is that you won't regret it. Far from that, the businesses who have won quality awards in countries like Jamaica, Guyana, and Suriname each have spoken of the value it brings, not just to the bottom line of their companies, but also to the company's brand and image recognition nationally, and to be able to carry that boast of being the best to their international clients and markets. With the introduction of the National Quality Awards here in Antigua and Barbuda, we hope the sectors being targeted will see this as an opportunity to invest in their own futures, their resilience and sustainability for the long run. One of the things that the COVID pandemic has brought home to all of us is the need to build resilience and sustainability into our business sectors. One of the ways to do so is through the introduction of standards, quality systems, and procedures. We are well aware that not every business that existed prior to 2019 still exists across our region today, and we are more cognizant now than ever that our national markets are definitively finite in their ability to support demand. It is why under this program, we are working to have more businesses and professionals certified, why we are moving our regional laboratories towards accreditation, and why we are still harmonizing standards across member states. Because if we are going to survive any future threats, these are all necessary approaches, particularly for our businesses who contributes to sustainability by the jobs they provide and the revenue they earn.
My name is Mohan Nandwani. I'm the Finance and Operations Manager at the CrossQ Secretariat. Honorable EP Chet Green, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade. Mrs. Laura Piper, Permanent Secretary for Trade, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade. Mr. Cottrell George, Chairman, Antigua and Barbuda Standards Council. Dr. A. Jerry Simon, Vice President, Antigua and Barbuda Standards Council. Mrs. Diane Rodriguez, Director, Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards. Mr. Martin Cave, Executive Director, Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce. Members of the National Quality Awards Committee, Mrs. Ruth Lynn Matthias, Executive Director, Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Training Institute, staff of the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, representatives of the media. Okay. Just adjusting the mic volume. The CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, better known as the CROSQ, is the network of the 15 Bureau of Standards within our CARICOM region. This network sees the joint collaboration, facilitation of projects and programs, as well as technical assistance, consensus building in the area of quality infrastructure across our region. Quality infrastructure, as you would all know, by now refers to the development of standards, metrology, or measurement systems, the development of accreditation and conformity assessment processes, procedures, and systems, and quality promotion of all these areas in the national, regional, and international levels. Today, the CROSQ is extremely happy to see and participate in this launch of the Antigua and Barbuda National Quality Awards, led nationally by the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, and quite ably so. We were fortunate enough at the CROSQ Secretariat to have been able to play a role in the start of the concept for these awards towards the end of the 10th European Development Fund project, just a few short years ago, and it brings us special pride to see the early work being continued under this, the 11th EDF EPA TBT program, which began at the end of 2019. Along with Antigua and Barbuda, CROSQ and the EDF programs have likewise assisted two member states, Guyana in 2017 and Suriname earlier this year, where I had the pleasure of giving the remarks at that particular NQA, through the hosting of their inaugural National Quality Awards. This current program is now assisting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Trinidad and Tobago to do the same. The National Quality Awards are an opportunity for businesses in a country to try to be recognized for their implementation of quality systems and procedures in their operations, whether they be in service or manufacturing oriented. It allows businesses to recognize the value of quality and even more to see the benefits that accrue, ranging from business efficiency to access to export markets and therefore potential increases in revenue. It is our experience that many businesses don't often consider what quality systems can do for their businesses until they try to export and realize that there are protocols that exist to be able to do so. The one thing we can promise, however, is that you won't regret it. Far from that, the businesses who have won quality awards in countries like Jamaica, Guyana, and Suriname have each spoken of the value it brings, not just to the bottom line of their companies, but also to the company's brand, image recognition, regionally and internationally, and to be able to carry on and boast to their international clients and to their international customers of such awards. With the introduction of this National Quality Awards here in Antigua and Barbuda, we hope the sectors being targeted will see this as an opportunity to invest in their own futures, their resilience, and sustainability for the long run. One of the things that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought home to all of us is the need to build resilience and sustainability into our business sectors, and this is very important for us. One of the ways to do so is through the introduction of standards, quality systems, and procedures. We are well aware that not every business that existed prior to 2019 still exists across our region today. And we are more cognizant now, more than ever, that our national markets are definitely finite in their ability to support demand. It is why under this program, we're working to have more businesses and professionals certified, why we are moving our regional laboratories towards accreditation, why we are still harmonizing standards across member states, because if we are going to survive any future threats, these are all necessary approaches, particularly for our businesses who contribute to national sustainability by the jobs they provide and the revenue they earn. The work with the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards continues, and funding has been made available through this 11th EDF EPA TBT program to assist with funding elements of this National Quality Awards. We applaud the ABBS and its partners for the work that has gone into getting us through to the point of launching, and this is really a fantastic occasion that you have reached. We are anxious to see the phases that follow. We know it's going to be a lot of work. The opening of applications, the assessments, the actual award ceremony itself. It is the ceremony that will provide your country and the region with the opportunity to toast those businesses who rise to the top and acknowledge the work of others who participated. The reason I expect the region also to toast Antigua and Barbuda's successes is that in all our award schemes so far, online participation from across member states wanting to witness and celebrate the hype has been real, and I can attest to that. And we expect the same here in this Twin Islands state. I did not expect to be long, so I will close with these few short words of advice and urging. The National Quality Awards are always a significant undertaking by any National Bureau of Standards. And what determines the success is the ability of others to stand with the Bureau in shaping and unfolding this endeavor. We know we've seen it happen time and time again. So we express thanks to those who are serving on the NQA committees and giving of assistance to the Bureau in other ways, because these collaborations are definitely needed. At our Secretariat and the bureaus who have gone through the processes before, several times now in some instances, continue to lend their expertise in making sure that success is the only outcome. And I can assure you that the CrossQ will work very diligently with the director of the ABBS, along with its staff and its team, to ensure that this NQA event is extremely successful. So I close by saying that we look forward to what will arise from today's launch and eagerly await the updates on how the process is continuing. And when we can participate in the actual award, we look forward to that. So congratulations to you, all the best, and I wish you the best today with your opening ceremony.
Yes, I will now call on Mr. Martin Cave, Executive Director of the Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce, to relay to us a few facts about the National Quality Awards program, give us an overview, and a bit on its scope and criteria and the key benefits to be derived. Mr. Cave?
Thank you, Mrs. Mistress of Ceremonies. I'd like to acknowledge the Honorable E.P. Chet Green, Minister in the Ministry of, or Minister with the responsibility of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, Mr. Derek Omar, Chief Executive Officer of CrossQ, Mrs. Laura Piper with us, Permanent Secretary for Trade in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, and Mr. Cotwell George, who had to leave. Mr. George is Chairman of the Antigua Barbuda Standards Council, Mrs. Diane Lala Rodriguez, who's Director of the Antigua Barbuda Bureau of Standards, members of the National Quality Awards Committee, Mrs. Ruthlyn Matthias, Executive Director of Antigua Barbuda Hospitality and Training Institute, where we currently are, staff of the Antigua Barbuda Bureau of Standards, representatives of the media. Good morning. I will attempt to give you just a few bits of information, hopefully that you haven't already heard or learned. National Quality Awards program is Antigua and Barbuda's first quality-based awards program, which recognizes local businesses and companies that demonstrate the application and commitment to standards, quality systems, and best practices in both the production of goods and the delivery of services. The Antigua and Barbuda Standards, or Bureau of Standards, will be hosting its first National Quality Awards, or NQA, program in this month, this month next year, 2023. The NQA, or National Quality Awards, is based on an impartial and comprehensive assessment of business operations using pre-established criteria under the program. It is envisioned as a national medium for business excellence to highlight and promote the competitiveness of Antigua and Barbuda's products and services, which hopefully will enable businesses to strive for excellence, be at a competitive edge, and enhance growth development while encouraging sustainability. So the 2023 NQA is geared towards recognizing organizations that are compliant to the highest level of standards and quality. The NQA 2023 will include categories for manufacturing, services, agro-processing, and small businesses. There are three objectives which will be addressed. One, to promote standards in organizational performance pursuant to the country's effort to implement the national quality policy. Two, to establish a national system for assessing quality and productivity performance, thus providing local organizations, regardless of size, sector, and maturity, with criteria and guidelines for self-assessment to guide their quality and productivity improvement efforts. And three, to recognize organizations in both the private and public sectors which excel in quality management and overall organizational performance, thus providing our lovely Antigua and Barbuda's industries and businesses with benchmarks and models to emulate. The NQA is celebrating during the month of October as a part of National Quality Week, and the ceremony will be held on a biennial cycle. The most successful companies shall be given special recognition for quality. The Caribbean Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, or CROSQ, their aim is to promote efficiency and the competitive production of goods and services. This is done through the process of standardization and the verification of quality across the region. The organization is comprised of national standards bodies from each member state, such as Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, which has been actively participating in this process to develop and promote standards at the regional level. So, in terms of our address today, the scope of the awards will be to engage businesses from both the private and the public sector to address manufacturing, small businesses, and agri-processing as the primary ones. In terms of the criteria, we will be looking at quality management standards as well as quality management systems. Having done that, we are hoping that the benefits that will be arrived from these will be delivery of high quality products that meet industry regulation, producing on-time delivery and service delight. It makes absolutely no sense for us to go through processes and procedures and not end up with the type of service or products that enhance the quality and thus a better formed product and consequently more delighted customers. We're also hoping to have, as one of the benefits, have the companies have all the necessary tools, resources, and equipment for making those products and services. So the end obviously has to have the support. Our committee will be addressing those to ensure that those who meet the awards, those who meet the criteria, must have those items, necessary tools and resources and equipment. And thirdly, we wish to have as a benefit conformity and adherence to ISO standards. This will engineer trust in processes and the products. The standards are already set. Our duty, our role will be to ensure that those businesses competing will meet the necessary standards so that the outcome would be that is best desired. So we can improve the quality and products for businesses operating in Antigua and Barbuda. Having done that, we would hope then to have achieved our objective and have raised the standard of doing business in Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you.
So we are really grateful that we have our minister with responsibility for the wider trade portfolio as well as standards here with us today. So at this point, I'd like to welcome the Honorable E.P. Chet Green, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, to bring the keynote speech at this time. Minister Green.
Let me firstly thank you, Solange. Start by recognizing amongst us the dignitaries, our chairperson of the Standards Council, Mr. Cotchell George, who brought greetings and who had to leave because of certain familial responsibilities. Our director, who I gather is online, Dan Rodriguez, Martin Cave, the executive director of the Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce, not the Nigerian one. Of course, I recognize, though he may not be online now, Derek Omar, the CEO of CrossQ, my own permanent secretary in the Ministry of Trade, Mrs. Laura Burton Piper. I know Dr. Charles is a member of the Quality Awards Committee, but I think in his own right, as someone leading the charge at UB5 Islands, Doc, I welcome you to this morning's session. I've never spoken on an occasion like this where the national media is present and not recognize them. And so, where our numbers are small for this session, we depend on ABS to carry this very important message of quality, standards and quality to the rest of the Antigua Barbuda community. I must say also good morning to my beautiful staffers. You're looking so resplendent. But as Minister with responsibility for standards and quality and for the wider trade portfolio, it gives me great pleasure to address you this morning for this milestone in the journey of the Bureau of Standards, the Ministry of Trade, and by extension, Antigua and Barbuda, as we launch our National Quality Awards program. On this occasion, it's equally important that I acknowledge the long-standing relationship between CARICOM, CARIFORUM, and the EU. And to the EU to say thanks for their continued support, in this instance through the 11th EDF, for the funding provided. It is noteworthy and certainly worthy of noting that I pay deference to the objectives of the 11th EDF, namely identification closure of gaps in the key sectors in our economy and organizations, promotion of quality culture, not only in Antigua Barbuda, but throughout the region, the CARIFORUM region. And members here would know that Antigua Barbuda currently holds the chair of CARIFORUM. So again, this morning's activity is so important. It is showing that we are not only talking the talk, but walking the talk by our own declaration this morning of our Quality Awards initiative. And then the third objective of the 11th EDF is the strengthening of regional quality infrastructure. So if you look at those objectives and the funding provided by the EU, our being here this morning is really symbolic. It is significant because it places Antigua and Barbuda in a frame with all other CARIFORUM nations, giving that commitment to ensuring that quality becomes the central focus and part of national life. It is in this regard that all national standard bodies in the CARIFORUM region have been beneficiaries of projects and programs of which the establishment of the National Quality Awards is just one. The National Quality Awards will especially facilitate the promotion of a quality culture and, by extension, recognition of the main objectives in closing quality gaps in Antigua and Barbuda's economic landscape for contribution to strengthening of the regional quality infrastructure, which I outlined as one of the objectives of the EU 11 EDF initiative. We must also recognize the sterling efforts of CrossQ Secretariat, its management and staff, who have been unwavering and unrelenting as liaisons for the implementation of the technical barriers to trade component of the 11th EDF. I certainly want to applaud the CEO, the technical officers, and other members of staff at CrossQ for their relentless engagement. Their relentless engagement at a regional level, but to bring it closer home, for the relentless engagement with our own Bureau standards for the attainment of this initiative, this goal set out by the 11th EDF. In like manner, the Bureau standards efforts to maintain contributions to the development of regional standards and the consequent adoption as national standards highlights the dedication of standards development as a foundational pillar of quality infrastructure and the basis of the other pillars of quality such as metrology. And metrology, you know, is another of the initiatives funded under the 11th EDF. It is fair that I pay recognition and show deference to the work of CrossQ. But there's an old saying, a king has honor in his own country. And in that regard, I want to just spend a little time to say just how much I, as your minister, recognize and appreciate the sterling contributions made by Ms. Rodriguez, Solange, and other staff members at our bureau. I also want to this time salute and thank the volunteers who comprise the National Quality Awards Committee. And for national recognition of their services, I want to name them with ABS as my able assistant. Name them for public recognition. The chairperson of the National Quality Awards Committee is Senator Chanel Gavaya. It's also noteworthy that I identify the fact that it's a coming together of key sectors, not only personalities, but key sectors, to ensure that this National Quality Awards Committee and the work they do for on behalf of Antigua Barbuda bears a reflection of the makeup of a society. So Senator Gavaya, she serves from the Office of the Prime Minister. Ms. Jamaica Carbon Constant, she serves from the headquarters of the Ministry of Trade. Mrs. Patrice Christian Simon, she serves from the Antigua and Barbuda Hotels and Tourism Association, while Ms. Kenneth Tong Roberts serves from the Ministry of Agriculture. Peter Williams serves from my office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, while Jacqueline Yearwood serves from Babaya. And we've heard from the representative of the Chamber of Commerce, its ever present Martin Cave, can't miss him, physical structure. Dr. Curtis Charles, who I would have welcomed in my opening salvo from UE 5 Islands. And of course, from the Secretariat in the Bureau of Standards, Mrs. Solange Benjamin Baptiste. And I, again, be very careful to mention these names, because as quality and this quality awards program takes root, it is only fair that people of this country know who are the persons, the drivers, the movers and shakers of this very important development in national life. I think it's also apropos that I mentioned two of those sectors or subsectors present in the committee. One, the Hotel and Tourism Association, represented by Mrs. Patrice Christian Simon, because that, as we know, is the bane, the very nerve of the Antiguan economy. And so to have quality assurance in that key sector of national life speaks to the importance that we attach to this particular initiative that we're today launching. The other person I wish to mention by name and organization is Dr. Charles. Name being mentioned a third time since I came to the podium 4 minutes ago. And that's because UE represents something new, something fresh in a society. It speaks to a vision of empowerment. Building an economic powerhouse is a shared vision of this nation. But we can't build a powerhouse without education. And so to have Dr. Charles and UE representing on this particular committee, again serves to drill down into the bedrock, so to speak, of the government's vision, the government's mission, the government's plan, where quality is concerned and where education of our nation is concerned. And so let me at this time, thank all of the members of the committee for volunteering your time to serve, clearly understanding and accepting a national assignment at a key and critical time. At a time we call upon to reset the economic clock of Antigua Barbuda, building back stronger post-COVID. You put this committee into context and the work is called upon to do in context, we realize that its timing is so important. And so let me implore committee members to continue as you have been going to really give to this country's commitment to this regional effort of building quality, ensuring good standards, that you deliver on the expectations of moving business in Antigua and Barbuda upwards and forwards. I saw when I sat at the table on the program, on the flip side of the program, a write-up by the Bureau of Standards. I think all I've said a while ago could be encapsulated into the simple one pager. That the National Quality Awards is a useful way of introducing and encouraging the concept and principles of quality as one of the underlying platforms and tools for business development, service excellence, and overall economic development. I think in a nutshell, this statement sums up why we're here this morning. The mission that we all call upon to embrace in the name of Antigua Barbuda and its people. And so to you, Solange, or through you, Solange, to Mrs. Rodriguez, and to the staff members who are here this morning, I thank you for the leadership that you provided with respect to this particular initiative, and for the work you have done over the years where standards are concerned. It's not a fashionable topic. You don't have parties around standards. As a matter of fact, if ABBS put the camera through this room, we get a feel of what it's all about. Better few, yet better is an old philosophical axiom. But we cannot, because we're few numbers, resile away from our understanding of what is required, resile away from what is needed, but rather be encouraged to stride the path, to pull others along, and what sometimes seems a lonely and dreary path. I want to show members of the committee, at the end of the day, it will be worth it all. Because again, it's about building on the substructures of our society, of our community. It's about empowering micro businesses, ensuring that there's standards and quality attached to everything they do. Ensuring that at the end of the day, the ultimate that Antigua and Barbuda is identified as a country where you find standards and quality. That to me is the ultimate. And it's a very competitive space. Because what we're doing here, all the countries in CARIFORUM are doing the same, have given a commitment to do the same. So it's not Antigua and Barbuda alone as one. And most of the countries in this part of the Caribbean, we all thrive on tourism. So what we're seeking to do this morning is to find a competitive edge, to set aside Antigua and Barbuda from the rest of the competition. And it's not just for the Hotels Tourism Association, or for UWE, or for the Bureau of Standards, or for the ministry. It is something that we as a people, as a country, all have to embrace. Former Prime Minister Lester Bird had a phrase, catch the vision and live the dream. If ever it can be applied is now. I encourage all Antiguans and Barbudas rather to catch the vision of quality, live the dream. We're in a very competitive space, like I said, very competitive. And what this program sets out to do is to set us aside from all others. I can't speak for St. Lucia. I can't speak for Grenada. I can't speak for DR or any other CARIFORUM country. I'm not only speaking about us utilizing the resources made available by the EU. I'm speaking more importantly about a results-oriented, a results-focused approach. Where Antigua and Barbuda, businesses, economic life, social life, show improvement through the adoption of today's initiative or today's launch initiative. I've deliberately veered away from the text that they gave me because I feel very passionately about this subject. For too long and sometimes too often, we compromise on quality. We compromise on standards, yet we expect to get the best results. It just does not happen. There are no shortcuts. There are no quick fixes. This one cannot be treated with a Nescafe mentality. This one requires us doing the work, doubling down, buckling down. And in true VC bird spirit, in true Vivergen spirit, rise to show the rest of the world that small though we are capable of delivering on a higher plane, higher stage, global levels. And so to those of you gathered, small in number, but a larger audience, this one calls for all of Antigua, all of Barbuda. We can become a powerhouse. We can become an economic powerhouse. We can do just about anything and everything, but it requires that sense of commitment. We can't just commit to the EU and the CARIFORUM, the CROSS-Q, that we'll be a part of this regional construct. We have to go and deliver, make it happen. Public sector workers, I think Mr. George was quite correct. You have the capacity to do more, to be competitive. The tools are required. I think in this quality program, you have a tool which is not only to work, but a tool which will inspire an entire country to become better, to do better. In fact, to be the best that we can be. And so with those comments, I'll say much more my voice and everything for the campaign trail this evening. I will say I'm very pleased to be here and to declare officially open the launch of this quality program headed by the Bureau of Standards, but more importantly, one which depends on a national buy-in if we're to be successful. God bless.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Minister Green. I can safely say that we are certainly not short of the encouragements and a good perspective for focus going forward. So we thank you once again for your words, as well as, just really bringing us down to the brass tacks that would be necessary moving forward. At this time, I would like to invite Minister Green. We're going to go across to that table on the other side. There is a cake, a thematic cake. I don't know if our camera can get across there. So yes, just to seal the deal of the launch by cutting this cake and taking a few photos in the process. So if you would all just bear with us as we get the camera to move across to the table and we position ourselves for that process. Minister Green. After the vote. So this is just to seal the deal, everyone. One. And here we style metrology symmetrical after when Mr. Green brings down, the knife, I'd like to go to applause lastly. So, let's go for it, Mr. Green. Bring it down. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on Mrs. Deanne Lala Rodriguez, Director of the Antigua and Barbuda Bureau of Standards, who will render the vote of thanks from CrossQ Secretariat, where she is currently. So, Mrs. Rodriguez, we welcome you to do the vote of thanks.
Honorable E.P. Chet Green, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Trade, and Minister with responsibility for the Bureau of Standards. Permanent Secretary with responsibility for trade, Ms. Laura Piper. Mr. Cottrell George, Chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Standards Council, and Dr. Jerry Simon, Vice Chairman. Mr. Derek Omar, Chief Executive Officer of CrossQ, and Mr. Mohan Nandwani, the Finance Manager. Mr. Martin Cave, Executive Director of the Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce. Senator Shanella Govaya in absentia, and members of the National Technical Committee, including but not limited to Ms. Ruthlyn Matthias, who has given us human support, Chief Executive Officer of the Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Training Institute, Dr. Curtis Charles, representing the University of the West Indies, staff of the Bureau of Standards, specially invited guests, Belmont Studios, the media, and I would also like to recognize Ms. Novena Brown, and I will say to you in a minute why I have put her name on the list. Madam Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Solange Baptiste, and your team at the Information Services Department, thank you very much for so ably guiding and planning today's proceedings, along with Senator Govaya and the members of the National Technical Committee. Mr. Cottrell George, thanks very much for your remarks today. This certainly has set the scene for the coming months ahead, leading up to our first award, which we hope we will be able to execute in May of 2023. And also, sir, for your leadership of the Antigua and Barbuda Standards Council over the past few years, notwithstanding the limitations on the work we have been able to accomplish due to limited resources. Mr. Derek Omar and staff of the CrossQ Secretariat, including Ms. Latoya Burnham and Mr. Terry Hutchinson, thank you for your continued support and your persistent nudging to keep us on track. I also want to recognize here, although they may not be online, the Guyana National Bureau of Standards, who has been helping us in this process along the way and who we will certainly turn to as we continue this program. Mr. Martin Cave, Executive Director of the Antigua and Barbuda Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank you for your overview of the process, for setting the scene for those who might be listening and viewing this proceedings, and for energizing persons and hoping that they will take part in the process. I know that I have chided you at times about your response to our request from the Bureau, and you have assured me that whenever you see anything pertaining to the Bureau, you answer forthwith. So I hope that that will continue, sir, and I look forward to working with you on this. Minister E.P. Chet Green, thank you very much, sir, for your remarks today. You seem to generally divert from scripts that we give you, but I guess it is what it is. But nonetheless, you made today count, and I thank you very much for your support in this. I also wish to thank our PS. Madam PS, thank you very much always for your support of the work of the Bureau of Standards. To Epicurean for that so ably producing that cake, which I'm sure you all will enjoy. Again, to the Hospitality Training Institute for allowing us to use your facility. To the media and to Belmont Studios for allowing us to stream and for allowing me as well as a number of other persons to be online today. I mentioned Miss Novena Brown because you would have seen in front of you a logo, and you would also see a logo on the cake. And I would like to once again congratulate Miss Novena Brown because she won the competition for the design of the logo. This was a few years ago, and this will be our logo for the National Quality Awards. So having said that, let me once again reiterate, as Minister Green had said, the National Quality Awards is a useful way of introducing and encouraging the concept and principles of quality as one of the underlying platforms and tools for business development, service excellence, and overall economic development. So with those few words, I really, really thank everyone for being with us today, for supporting this process, and I look forward with anticipation to the launch of our first award in May next year, because the program, as you've heard, is supported by the 11th EDF, and we expect this to come to an end shortly after May next year. So thank you all once again, and thank you for your continued support on the work of the Bureau of Standards. I hope I have not forgotten anyone, but if I have, please accept my apologies. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for thanking us, Mrs. Rodriguez. I would like to invite our videographer and streaming team at this time, if you could show that video presentation, just for the benefit of those online. This presentation is from one of our CARICOM partners, just giving some testimonials from some of their business persons who would have experienced the National Quality Award, as we, we can enjoy that.
First of all, I must thank GNBS for hosting this prestigious award. I think it really does recognize Guyanese company for the effort they've been making in pushing standards and pushing quality at the highest level. For us, quality, customer service, HSSC, these things, it doesn't stop. It's a continuous effort, continuous improvement. So we always like to test our limit and see how good we're doing in these areas. So yeah, being able to participate shows that we have continued to achieve successes in these areas.
New GPC is a company that makes high-quality pharmaceutical products, and by entering this competition, we wanted to showcase to ourselves that we are making products of a high quality, and being judged by the GNBS would do just that. And it would also give our consumers the confidence that our products are of a high quality.
Well, we feel very happy to receive an award on behalf of the company. We have the Health and Safety, Occupational Health and Safety Award. And I think, we must commend our guys who, the Health and Safety Department, the committee, the Health and Safety Committee, and of course our employees who have practiced good health and safety out there.
From the inception when it was launched, I was excited that we were focusing or paying attention to quality in Guyana. And with paying attention to quality, you walk around as a Guyanese knowing that you're not giving people on the service, you're giving people value for money. People like value for money. And if you're going to do a service, you give a person 100%. Quality, meeting standards, that is what enhances your reach, and also it protects your country.
We have been in this quality award process from its inception, and I'm very proud to say that we have always won. So we have a tradition of excellence, and that is our winning tradition.
So for us, we have always stood for standards because we have been a company that's been around for 24 years plus, and we have worked for the international market, and we were always recognized for quality from the international front. And we have continued with that service, bringing it onto the local market, and we want to continue placing quality as the top thing for Denmark garments.
And this can tell us to further improve ourselves in the different categories to achieve, make the company like a higher in other sectors, in other areas where we can improve ourselves. So it's an achievement for us.
So having NQA, it's an amazing opportunity for the school. We've been recognized internationally. We are also certified in Jamaica. We also certified in Trinidad and Tobago. We're already recognized in the US and in Canada. We have students from far and near that join the school every year. So it's an important aspect in us in aviation maintenance because it also enables our students, our future leaders, our future aircraft maintenance engineers to become more qualified and recognized throughout the Caribbean and worldwide.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that our food processing standards are in keeping with GNBS, and of course we're putting food into the market, cereals, and we want to make sure that it's healthy for consumption. And whenever you eat a Morning Glory cereal, it means that you're eating a safe cereal, a healthy cereal, a very sumptuous cereal.